Welcome, everyone. I'm Zach Frank from the Earmark team, and I'd like to introduce you to today's webinar, Good for Your Clients, Good for You, Grow with Avalara for Accountants. We'll begin shortly. I just want to give some time to people to get situated. And also, as a reminder, you can earn CPE for this webinar by using the Earmark app. But unlike traditional webinars, Earmark Webinars Plus does not use polling questions during the presentation. Once the CPE course is available in the Earmark app, we will notify you via email. At that time, you can log into the app, take a short quiz, and earn your CPE certificate for this webinar. You can download the app by using this QR code on the screen right now. You can also search for Earmark in either the Apple App Store or visit the Google Play Store. You can also go to earmarkcp.com/download. Great. I'm just going to give everyone a little bit more time. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to welcome Marianne Fisher and Kim Austin.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see you today, and welcome to our webcast. We're going to go ahead and get started. Before I jump into the content with Kim, I need to put up our legal safe harbor statement. Obviously, this is Avalara confidential information, and I'll let you read the rest, but need to make sure we present that for this webcast. So with that, as it was stated, good for you, good for your clients, good for you. Grow with Avalara for Accountants is our webcast today. And the agenda, I want to cover kind of what we all are going to be talking about. First, sales tax challenges. There's a lot going on in the world of sales tax, and we want to I have the opportunity to kind of break it down for you. Then we'll talk a little bit about how you say yes to clients who have sales tax needs. Want to introduce you to our partnership model here at Avalara and what partnership means. Break down some use cases and some customizable paths to success through those use cases. And then lastly, really talk about firm growth opportunities and break that down as well. So with that, I want to kick it off with some introductions. I am Marianne Fisher. I'm the Senior Strategic Partner Manager for our accounting channel here at Avalara. Really focused on driving partner-first experiences and driving strategy and execution through our partnership model with the accounting channel here. I have worked in the profession for 15 years. And before my time at Avalara, I actually worked at CPA.com and had been a featured speaker at many thought leadership events and industry conferences. So I'm sure over the last year, I've run into a few of you, and I'm thankful again for joining us today. So with that, I want to introduce Kim Austin.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me. My name's Kim Austin. I'm the Director of Strategic Alliances at Avalara, which means that I have the pleasure of leading our team that manages the day-to-day partner relations with all of our accounting partners. So if you are working with Avalara for accountants in some capacity, you're probably working with somebody on my team, and we're very pleased to have that interaction with you. My background is 20 years of experience in the document management, workflow, accounting, tax software space. Spent almost a decade at Intuit working with national accounting firms, and joined Avalara in 2022 to work with Big Four, and then now leading the team of strategic alliances managers. And I have spoken as well at numerous conferences. Marianne and I have run in the same circles for many years, so it's super exciting that we're now tag teaming it on some of these presentations and really just in a day-to-day partner management world here at Avalara. So excited to be here and look forward to spending the next hour with you.
All right, Kim, let's jump into some of these sales tax challenges. It's ever changing, it's ever evolving. I feel like every time we kind of break down sales tax challenges, there's always something new. So I'm excited to kind of get into this content. But before we do, really setting the stage from a foundation perspective, sales tax compliance and sales tax challenges, it really impacts everybody. Every person, every business, and really every day. And it's increasing with time in terms of the complexity from e-commerce and the globalization that's happening, and really now the transition from mobile and that digital collection. I always kind of speak to the perfect storm. Many of you are probably familiar with the Wayfair ruling that came out, what is it now, 5 years, which it feels like it was yesterday. And then you had, the pandemic happen, which really forced a lot of e-commerce activity for a lot of these businesses to really keep themselves going through such a difficult time. So, it's that perfect storm of Wayfair and the decisions around e-commerce and how that impacts, activity in some of these jurisdictions, to then the growth of e-commerce that we've seen since 2020. So it's really impacting every client, every person, every business, and I'm just going to add to this, every firm. Kim, I know you're seeing this on your end when you're working with firms too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the world we live in, where my team gets calls from firms or their clients saying, hey, we need help, or hey, we didn't realize we needed help, and what do we do? So I like to say that we wake up and we go to bed thinking about this and how it impacts every person, business, all the time.
So what are we facing here in the U.S.? Tax jurisdictions, there's 13,000 tax jurisdictions. Oftentimes we think of states when we think of like taxing state or taxing authority, but there's many states out there that have local jurisdictions within them. I think of, the difficulty of Colorado. Colorado is one of those states. Arizona, Louisiana, Mississippi, a lot of these states who have a lot of local, local jurisdictions in them, and therefore local responsibilities when it comes from reporting. So a lot of complexity, especially for businesses that are, doing business outside of the state that they're most familiar with. In 2021 alone, we saw 123,000 rate and taxability updates in the US and Canada, and 131,000 state US tax holiday rule updates. Oftentimes I get asked about holiday updates, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But before we jump into that, Kim, often, there's some confusion on the rate taxability and product taxability. And what happens is there's a level of analysis that needs to be done from a product perspective. So as clients and businesses are doing business in these jurisdictions, depending on what they're selling, depending on their product base, there could be specific rules that they have or different tax rates that they have versus, the standard taxation, whether it be local or state taxation rules. So there's a lot of complexity in understanding what those rules are. And then talking about rate holidays, I think that kind of like flows into that really nicely. Whenever I think of like sales tax holiday, I always go back to school, because that's really when you hear about it the most in kind of the public, right? Is many of these taxing jurisdictions will say, hey, if you buy Friday through Sunday, we're going to waive sales tax on anything that's related to back to school. And we're calling that a tax holiday. And that's where you get into those product taxation rules, where they're saying this specific product is now waived as part of that tax holiday, where, other products that aren't necessarily related to back to school still have sales tax. So states can make decisions and jurisdictions can make decisions, based on timing, products, services, all kinds of complexity. And it keeps us on our toes every day.
And I always laugh. We're sales tax nerds here. We have to throw in one of these silly stories, but I feel like we would do things like this on purpose. But then you hear the stories of the bagel shop in New York who decides to try to work around sales tax rules by filling his bagel with cream cheese, because if you don't slice the bagel, then it's not considered a sandwich and it's not taxable. It's a pastry. So it's so funny how every once in a while we'll hear a story like that, and they definitely make the viral rounds internally at Avalara, and then we get good content for webinars like this to share.
And not only do we have product taxability that kind of keeps us on our toes with complexity, but transactions can cross boundaries, especially when you get into these localities, and tax rates can change between neighboring buildings on the same street. And that's really when you get into it and go, oh my gosh, like I thought I was in this zip code, but then the tax rate is different. So there's a different tax code. So it really kind of keeps us on our toes. And I have a personal story to this. I live and breathe sales tax. It's what I do for my career. And, a few years back, I'm in the Michigan area. Michigan has like a pretty standard sales tax. It's not overly complicated. Yes, we have product taxability and whatnot, but I wouldn't call us the most complex. I had a family member who moved to Arizona, and you'd think I would know this stuff. I live this every day, and we had to refurnish the house. Bought a new house, went to Arizona, refurnished the entire house. Day 4 of shopping, I was like, oh man, if we had just gone the other direction a mile, your tax rate, your sales tax rate would have been different, because cities are taxed different. Scottsdale's taxed different than Phoenix proper and whatnot. So, there's a lot of things that just keep us, even those of us like Kim and myself who are in this every day, on our toes, because it's constantly changing.
Exactly.
So when it comes to the actual compliance process and how do we stay compliant and help our clients stay compliant with sales tax, one of the things is no state is the same. Not any state or local jurisdiction administers the same sales tax process or the same way that they file and remit, sales tax. Each state has its own thresholds for economic nexus. Oftentimes what I'm seeing is anywhere between 100,000 and 200,000 in gross revenue is roughly around that threshold. But I will throw out, make sure you're doing your research as you're looking at these states, because they do differ, as we just kind of talked through. And then each state has its own form and return that they have to file, that we need to file to render and those sales taxes that have been collected. So it's, I wish I could say everything is the same and we're making it easy for you. Not easy at all. Everything's different. And it really does help, as your clients are dealing with this, really kind of keeps them up at night to make sure that, are they managing all of these different jurisdictions? And I mentioned it before, but if you're doing business, or your clients are doing business, I should say, in another jurisdiction that they're not familiar with, that risk tends to be higher just because of some of the complexities with that.
And I think accountants understand this. I mean, if you're doing direct tax work as well, there's always the one-off form that doesn't get accepted and you have to manually file, so it's like, this is, no different than anything else. I think what makes it the added complexity is the fact that not a lot of people really know or feel comfortable or confident with sales tax. So you add that whole, I don't know if I really know what I'm doing, to all of the nuances, and that becomes even more problematic, which is a great reason to partner with a company that can make sure that we have your back.
So I want to jump into, Kim, kind of the ways to help manage, or what firms are doing, or what even clients have to do that firms can kind of step in and help with. So we know we got to manage sales tax. We know we have to collect it. We know we have to report it to the taxing jurisdiction. So what does that end-to-end compliance journey look like for your clients as well as the firms that are providing these services? Well, first, it's understanding where your clients must collect and remit tax, right? And helping them understand, do they have risk somewhere, because maybe they didn't understand, hey, they've reached a certain threshold in that state that now puts them in an area where they might be vulnerable because they need to collect. After that, then registering, making sure that they're registered in each and every one of those jurisdictions. Then once they've registered, we've got to calculate that. Are they using the right rates? Are they using the right rules that we just talked about? Are they then using those rates and rules to collect the right amount of sales tax on those transactions that are happening, the day-to-day transactions? And then there's also the exemption certificates, right? An exemption and managing those exemptions. And a lot of that comes down to, certain products, services, and customers can be exempt in certain jurisdictions just due to the type of business they are or the type of products that they're selling. And then tracking that and making sure that, the paper trail, quote unquote, is there, and explaining why why we're tracking or why that transaction has been exempt. And then lastly, remitting it. So anything that's collected has to go to the jurisdiction. So making sure that we're remitting that to the tax authority in a timely manner and an accurate manner. So that's really the overall end-to-end process. And what Kim and I want to do is break down for you today how we can use this process with the partnership through Avalara to be able to kind of simplify this for you, the firm, and for your clients. So I feel like we talked a lot about the challenges, and I always want to kind of summarize this in like 4 main pillars. We talked about changing regulations. That's one of the main reasons your clients are kind of challenged every day, keeping up with that. We know sales tax isn't the only thing that your clients are worried about. They're running their business, they're growing their business, they're managing the day-to-day. So obviously keeping up with these changes is very challenging for your clients. There's evolving market dynamics. Tax is multi-jurisdictional. It's also global. You've got the local jurisdictions that we've talked about in the U.S. So the evolving market dynamics are also keeping the challenge for your clients there. Confusion and complexity, as Kim and I both kind of pointed out, even us who are in this, we get confused because it's complex. And I think that's a natural thing. But for clients, compliance is one of those things that does keep them up at night. So, managing that confusion and managing that complexity is really important. And then lastly, risk mitigation. It requires the resources that they need either internally within their business or finding those right resources externally through outsourcing to an accounting partner like yourselves and really finding that expertise. So I like to kind of summarize it in these 4 buckets. And Kim, I don't know if you have any thoughts that you want to share. And it's kind of we summarize the challenges and then kind of see how we can go to helping to solve this for our firms.
No, I love that we've kind of brought this together. So why are we even here, and what do we need to do to make sure that you're prepared to be able to tackle some of these things that obviously are overwhelming to your clients and probably pretty overwhelming to you as well. So the whole purpose of this is we know that as a accountant or a trusted advisor to your clients, the last thing you want to do is have to say no. So if you take anything away from the presentation today, we want you to be able to say yes to your clients. And we're going to talk you through some of the ways that Avalara can team with you in order to help you say yes. As you have just heard for the first 15 minutes here, this is all pretty overwhelming, especially if you don't have sales tax background, if you don't have a team in place that's sales tax experts. Your clients coming to you saying, I heard this or I saw that, and asking all kinds of questions. And the last thing you want to do is steer them in the wrong direction. I think there's even an ongoing court case right now about a client who's gotten themselves into a sales tax mess. And then they're pointing the finger at their accounting firm saying, well, you should have known better. You're in charge of my tax. So we want to set you up for success and let you know that we are here to help you. The way I like to position it is, you are your client's trusted advisor, and we are going to be your trusted technology partner to make sure that you and your clients are set up for success. So your clients are obviously looking for help, and what Avalara can do in conjunction with you and your team is to help you address the compliance, to help you show up as that trusted advisor, to ensure that you and we together are delivering value to your client or to what would become our mutual client, and then ultimately mitigate risk. Like I just said, nobody wants to end up in the 6 o'clock news as far as a sales tax nightmare headline.
And for a client that's going through an audit, a small to mid-sized business, even the large businesses, like that's a big chunk when you're looking at the penalties or interest because of some of those, potential risks or vulnerabilities that they have due to their compliance. So that's when we look at that, it's how do we help your clients kind of prepare for that and make sure that they're aware, and ready if unfortunately an audit does come knocking on the door.
Exactly. Over the years, Avalara has expanded our portfolio, so we can definitely help you with so many different aspects of sales tax compliance. So we wanted to just kind of give you an overview of some of the things that we can actually team with you and be able to allow you to provide to your clients. So it starts at determining where to collect and remit. Again, working with Avalara allows you to determine what services you provide to your clients, and then we can fill in the gaps. If you want us to take the lead on things, we can do that. If you prefer to do some of them on your own and just use us as support, we'll work with you that way. As we continue to talk about our partnership model, you'll see that we really are building a model that works exactly how you want to work with us, and it'll ultimately lead to the success for our mutual clients. We definitely know that registration within the jurisdictions, so as clients expand their footprint, as they move from just a brick and mortar to e-commerce, obviously nexus changes occur. And so we can provide you with the tools to help you and your clients register with the jurisdictions that need to be set up. We can also help with validating the transactions and making sure that calculations are done. So we have our core tax engine to be able to provide all of that information and make sure that you are determining the correct rates and or rules or exceptions. We can help with the filing and the compliance. We have several different models that we're going to talk about how we do that, whether we do it for you, whether you do it, whether we work on it together. And then we can also address any tax notices. So if something's happened and we need to help kind of rectify that situation, we have the ability to help you through that, help your clients through that. and then the implementation of the sales text technology to be able to automate a lot of these processes. Again, different models that we can work on, and we'll talk through some of those things. But at the end of the day, we want to just make sure that you understand we really have your back end to end when it comes to partnering for the ultimate sales tax compliance solution for your clients.
And I think when we look at this list, it's a list that we know because of talking with firms that clients are asking for help with, right? So they're asking for help with, how do we determine that we're collecting and remitting in the right jurisdictions? How do we register within these jurisdictions? What do we know? What if we're not calculating right? How do we kind of check that and validate that? So when Kim kind of talks through, like, what are the items that we're prepared to support the firm in any way they want, it's the items we know that clients are coming to you for and looking for your advice and guidance on. And I think that's an important piece of, we don't want you to say no. We want you to feel empowered to be able to say yes to your client.
And ultimately be the first call from your client, right? When you have to constantly say, oh, sorry, can't help you with that, your client's going to hear that over and over, and then they're going to start asking other people. We want to show up with you and make sure that you have the ability to say yes. And even if you don't know the answer off the top of your head, you're going to be there for you, backing you up again as your trusted technology partner to make sure that you can provide the right answers.
So in summary, and I think we kind of laid this out really well, both Kim and I, our goal here is to empower you to say yes. We want you to say yes to your client. We want to say we can help you. And we're not necessarily experts, but we know where to go. We know where to go to get the help that you need, and we're there to support you as that trusted advisor. So if, again, take away from this webinar today is really say yes to your client, and you've got the support to be able to do that. So how do we help you say yes? We talked a lot about kind of the different services and service needs that clients are coming to firms for and how we can support that. But at the end of the day, it's really the team, and I say team because that's what we are here at Avalara, a team behind you that has worked with the profession, that understands the firms and the success that they're looking for, and helps to understand your clients. Like I said at the beginning, I have 15 years working with the profession, or anywhere from around technology to consulting. Kim as well has a large, extensive background with the profession. So this is the team behind you that really understands the needs and helps to build that out. And then there's an even further broader team in the ecosystem that works directly with accountants, specifically with accounting firms, and specializes in that. That's going to be there to support you. We also have the technology. We're going to talk a lot about our Avalara for Accountants solutions today and what that program looks like. But the technology is driven and it's built for the profession. It's technology that gives you the visibility to the reporting that you need, gives you the visibility to create customized options to service your clients. That's what's built out for you so that you can say yes to your clients. And lastly, the support. Making sure that not only the team environment that we talked about, the technology, but the support behind that. How do we provide the support to the profession to be able to give you guys the confidence to say yes to your clients? So that's really, if I could put it all in wrap it all in one big bow, this is the important piece that Avalara has put together that's unique and different than what we see outside of the other technologies to say, yes, this is what we're doing to support you guys. Kim, any thoughts? Because I know we call it team. You're working with your team day in and day out. So you probably have additional insight here.
Yes. Well, because we have such an extensive team, especially focused on the accounting channel, it can often be overwhelming. And we'll talk through some of the ways that we work together across functional teams here at Avalara to really provide you with an end-to-end support team. But yes, this is where, again, my team wakes up every day and goes to bed every night thinking about how do we show up the best that we can for you to provide everything you need. So sometimes I feel like for holiday gifts, I need to send like those traffic director light wands because all they do is spend time kind of shuffling people from one place to the other. But that's why we're here. We want to make sure you always have a go-to, and that, as one of my teammates says, never call 1-800-AVALARA. You always know who you can reach out to, and we'll be there for you.
So I want to dive into the partnership model. What does that look like, and how is that unique with Avalara and Avalara for Accountants? So I had mentioned kind of in my intro that my day-to-day is striving to deliver a partner first experience for our Avalara for Accountants team as well as for our accounting firms. And what does a mutual partnership look like? And so I wake up every day. That's what I think about. That's what I strive to do. And when I think of partner first experience, I think of how do we mutually find success together? And what does that look like? And I think at the foundation of that, it's the clients, right? We both are working with clients. We're both working to make sure that the clients we work with are handling their compliance and being able to take care of their compliance so that they're not up at night, right? And that's where mutually the technology of Avalara, the team of Avalara comes together with the accounting firm and really says, how do we help support that? What does that look like? And that's what's building out that mutual experience. Kim will probably laugh when I say this, but it's oftentimes here at Avalara where I always say, I'm the voice of the accounting firm. Yes, I do work for Avalara, but I really try to position what is it that the accounting firm needs to be success. How do we help build that trust in that relationship with the accounting firm to make sure that they're successful? Because if you guys are successful, ultimately that's what builds out that and delivers that partner first experience.
Agreed. And it's the long time tenure and relationships that we've built in the community that is such an amazing community that we work with, that I feel like gives them the ability to share that with us. And then we take that responsibility so seriously to be able to bubble that feedback up to our teams and say, hey, we have to make sure that we're showing up exactly how they want us to and they need us to. So we always welcome your feedback and are so honored when you choose to share it with us.
So for those of you who may not be familiar with Avalara, I just want to go through kind of some quick introduction about who we are. We are a global company. We started in 2004, 4,800 employees. So we are big, but we know tax calc and we know tax returns and we know indirect tax and we know sales tax. And, one of the things I like to point out is just some of the numbers that we're driving globally, because I think that, as I work with accounting firms, it's that trust of, how much are you doing this? How much are you in the weeds? Is this your day-to-day? Here at Avalara, it is 39.6 billion tax calculations happening across the globe through our tax engines, AvaTax, if you're familiar. 31 million plus tax document management in 2022. And tax document management, think of those exemption certificates we just talked about. That's how many we're processing. That's how many we're tracking. And then 5.2 million returns filed in 2022. And so when we're looking for a partner, I understand the value of, really understanding what is that partner doing on the day-to-day? How are they helping, clients, accounting firms, other partners in our ecosystem to really drive success? And I think this really is kind of that encompassing story. The last thing I want to point out about Avalara that I'm proud of, just being part of the partner ecosystem, is that we have more than 1,200 signed partner integrations. And why I'm proud of that is because I understand in working with the profession and working with accounting firms, not every client is the same. Actually, every client is unique and every client has different needs. And so for me, when I look at that and I say, what does the technology bring to the profession? It brings the ability to customize the offerings because we can work with a large number of integrations. And we know that you might have a client on QuickBooks, or you might have a client on Intact, or you might have a client on NetSuite. We can work with you to resolve the right technology and solve that problem based on those 1,200 plus signed partner integrations. So for me, that's really an important piece when I look at how do we serve the profession, because we can create that customization.
Yeah, at Avalara, we have big dreams. Our CEO talks about wanting to be part of every transaction in the world. And the only way that would ever be possible is by going through partners, both technology partners like those 1,200 plus signed integrations, as well as accounting partners and technology partners to be able to truly be our feet on the street and bring our solution to all of your clients. So I want to introduce the Avalara for Accountants partner model. We've been in the accounting space, if you will, for so many years, and it's not new, but we've kind of reimagined the way we talk about partnering with accountants. And I think it's important to kind of pull back sometimes and really look at the entire big picture of how do we go to market with accountants. So I want to just take a little spin around our wheel, and we're going to start with kind of the original way that we've engaged with accounting firms. And if anybody has worked with Avalara in the past, you very likely have started by just referring a client. So a client comes to you and maybe they have some sales tax questions or needs, and you might have no experience with sales tax, or you might have some experience, but in any regard, whether it's be for calculation and the tax engine or some help with compliance, you bring that client to us and jointly we partner to provide that solution to the client. That's what we call our refer model. Again, it's kind of our OG model. It's very easy. You can work with us as much or as little. You can have us take the lead. You can take the lead and we support you. We work hand in hand to make sure that you are providing the experience that you want your client to receive. And we just want to truly show up as that partner with you. If you go to the right, we will flip over to the implement. So for some firms and accountants, they say, oh my gosh, I love the idea of being able to get an additional revenue stream. And if I'm referring this software that Avalara is going to sell to my client and I'm referring it, why don't I take on the implementation work? I'm already setting up NetSuite for them. I'm setting up Intact for them. I'm setting up a new ERP or doing other consulting work. And I've got a whole team of professionals that could actually do that implementation work. We love when our partners say we want to actually implement, because we know that you know your client's business better than anybody. And it helps you create that even stickier relationship with your client if you're the one that's actually implementing the solution for us. So in that case, you'd refer the client and then you get to do that implementation work as well. The third area that we work is kind of the newest that we've introduced with accountants. And we launched it a few years ago, and we call it our tools model. And what it really is it's providing you with the platform to be able to offer the services to your client and then charge them whatever you want to charge them. We see this a lot with both SALT groups, but also a lot with CAS, where you're doing all kinds of services. You want to expand the service offering that you provide your clients. And by doing that, you're able to create additional revenue streams. So if you think about it from a holistic perspective, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment, sort of case in point examples. But you've got a client that has sales tax needs. You refer them to Avalara, and Avatax is the solution that's sold. You, as the firm, get to implement it. And then at the end, rather than Avalara doing the compliance and the returns work, you could actually work with our returns platform that you have for your accounting firm, and you can submit and process those returns yourself to be able to do that end-to-end solution for your client. We are so excited about this model, and we're going to talk about it. But the thing that makes it so valuable is there's no one size fits all. There's no, you have to start here, you can't do this one. It's really, you get to pick and choose by client. You can start small, you can grow, you can start big and go, ooh, maybe I don't want to do as much because some things are changing or our priorities are shifting. So there's no entry, no exit. This isn't the toll road where you're off to the races and you can't get out. We are here to be flexible and to work with you on your sales tax compliance journey with your clients and make sure that for, again, client by client, we are there to show up with you exactly how you want us to. Marianne, I know this is one of those slides we could talk on for an entire hour, but go ahead and add a little bit of your thoughts on this model too.
And I'm very passionate about this model. I was a part of kind of making our shift in terms of what this messaging looks like. And, Kim, I think you nailed it when you talked about, like, there's no entry point, there's no exit point. The circle that we've created here and the visual that we've created was very intentional. And it was designed for that reason. There are 3 ways that we engage with accounting firms and we work with accounting firms. And there is no one size fits all. It is customizable. I have firms that I know that we work with, that I've worked with, that, will customize it based on the client, right? Like, for this client, tools is the right fit. For this client, because of their complexity, our referral motion is the right fit, versus departments within firms that will say, this is our right fit. And then how do we collaborate with other firms? So the design and the idea behind this was a very intentional visual, and it was designed to say, we can work with you and we can right size this model to fit into your practice, into your firm, and with your client needs. And that's what I love about it, is the customization. It does not matter the size of the firm. It does not matter the size of the practice. It does not matter the complexity of the client. We can customize that, and we have a team behind us that really will help even guide if there's questions around where do we start, because there isn't an entry point. Really digging deep and having strategic conversations with you, the firm, as well as understanding your clients to figure out what is that right entry point. And that's the piece of this puzzle, I think, that really is, really, really important as we continue to build this in the profession and really work with the profession and hear the feedback from you guys. So to Kim's point, we could talk about this forever and that model. We're very passionate about it. But to really bring this to life, I think the idea is we want to introduce you to some use cases. We have firms that utilize that model and utilize that vision in many different ways. And we wanted to say, hey, here's some use cases that we've seen. It's potential that one of these use cases might fit for your firm. And if they don't, that's where that strategic partnership and that conversation comes into play to figure out what that looks like. So with that, I think we're going to start with some use cases. I'm going to introduce you to kind of the idea, the concepts behind the use case. And then Kim's going to help bring that to life through kind of some of the conversations she's been having with firms. So the way I would set this up in terms of the use cases is to kind of define what is it, the type of partnership we're working with, what is kind of that right fit firm. And then, I've created kind of on the right-hand side, a quote, a potential quote that we've heard from firms that kind of fit into this model. And then, like I said, Kim will kind of bring some color, some real life color to that. So the first use case is really that accounting firm that, just wants to refer. They're not ready to do the implementation. They're not ready to do the tools. They just want to start with referring. And for a good fit, what type of firm would be a good fit? It's that firm who's looking for more of the hands-off approach. It could be due to limited resources, differing services lines, and or limited sales tax expertise. I should have added in here also priorities. We have a lot of firms that specialize in, very complex advisory services that, just from a resource time constraint, want to, have Avalara help with the compliance piece. So, firms that are sole practitioners, firms that, have the bookkeeping experience, indirect tax departments, outsource CFO and CAS departments. One of my biggest passions is sales tax and CAS, so I love that. And then new and growing firm services and specialty firm or boutique firm. So really, I feel like we could read this and go, every firm, every scenario, and I think this is a good one to kind of think that way. There's no right or wrong. There's no, we're just trying to give guidance through this use case. As Kim mentioned, this is kind of the OG model. Many of our firms are very familiar with this model, but just wanted to kind of highlight this here. And then with this model, and I'm going to have Kim kind of bring the story to life, is what does that look like? And I wanted to tie this back to the compliance, the 5 steps of compliance that we kind of outlined earlier, just a few minutes ago. And really every step within these compliance steps can be covered or helped or supported through our referral model. So when we see the orange behind that, it's really demonstrating that, we can help you with understanding where your clients can do that. We can do that through the referral model. We can help you with registration through the referral model. We can help with calculation, exemption certificates, and the remittance of the tax. So all of this can be done through that model. And with that, Kim, I'm going to have you kind of help bring that to life through some stories.
Yeah. And we say the OG model, it's really because it's the oldest model, the oldest kind of engagement style that we have with accounting firms. But also it's often while there isn't an entry point or an exit point or a, 1, 2, 3, it is often how we first find our engagement point with a new partner because they don't know much about it. I always laugh. In my prior life, I had partners that I worked with all the time, and the number one thing they would say, and I'm quoting one of my firms in this scenario, he goes, "I don't want to touch sales tax with a 10-foot pole. It terrifies me." He's like, "I just want to know that I can get them taken care of, and I want to look like a hero because I got somebody to take care of them, but I do not want the liability. I do not want the responsibility. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have it gives me anxiety. Just you take it and you make me look good." And
he doesn't want to say no to his client. And I think that's what I love about this story. He wants to say yes,
Correct.
He doesn't want to say no, but he's like, I need a partner to partner with.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. And, they were a outsourced accounting firm, very influential in the accounting profession. It wasn't some no-name partner, but he said, I just don't I don't have the bandwidth, and I don't want to get into that space right now. So can you make me look good by taking all of this on and knowing that I can set my clients up for success? And we did just that. And it's fantastic. We see this also in, again, large firms where the firm has a complete separate SALT group that maybe does a lot more, but in the CAS department, they don't want to get into that. And due to the model of that firm, they don't kind of cross share the way they maybe should or want to. So often we'll actually see the referral model coming from one department when we have a completely different engagement model at the other side of the firm. And then ironically, we'll talk about how we can help even bridge that gap with the firms as any good partner can do. So this is really that, again, it's not like you have to do this first, but we do see it first in a lot of ways. It's great if you don't have the expertise. We all know that staffing is, a concern right now. It's hard to find good talent. It's hard to keep talent. Trying to beef up a team that can be a sales tax team cannot necessarily happen overnight. So while you're trying to do that, even if you say, hey, I get it, I think sales tax is going to be something we want to support. For now, we're going to use this model. And then as we get going, we can also bring it in and kind of evolve. And as we evolve, we'll talk about some of the different ways that we can evolve with you.
All right. So the next use case I wanted to break down is, and again, going back to that, circular visual we had introduced back, was the refer and adding on our tools partnership. So what type of use case is this a good firm for? It was really a good fit for a firm that, provides sales tax return services in-house, but also has clients that need the technology to address the day-to-day rate accuracy with transactions. Oftentimes when firms get into the return process, they might notice there's some red flags or some inaccuracy in what's being calculated. So, or they know that the client has kind of outgrown their current system and they're looking for a system that really is driving the accuracy in the transaction. Because I always say this: sales tax starts with the transaction. The transaction is everything when it comes to sales tax. So what's the right fit? It's all firms. I see this a lot with our bookkeepers, our outsourced CFOs, our CAS specialties, and then obviously our SALT or indirect specialty firms or boutique firms. And again, I've added the quotes, so you'll be able to have kind of a breakdown of what that looks like. But it's really the firm that's servicing and doing, creating that revenue stream through doing returns in-house, but also then needing some of that accuracy from the client perspective in the day-to-day transaction. And what does this look like? And you'll see this is a little different. So it's the same 5-step model we had kind of introduced, again, trying to simplify the story as much as we can. But there's some gradient here. And the reason being is, there can be some overlap. And some of this overlap is a decision that the firm makes with, in partnership with Avalara. So for instance, understanding where your client's business might collect or remit sales tax. We have firms that want to refer that out to Avalara. The client works directly with Avalara and we support them in doing that. We have other firms that say, you know what, that's a service we provide in-house and we would like to work with our client in that service and we would like to provide that service. So that's a little bit of why you're seeing the gradient, especially here in the understand and register, because we do have those tools to support both of these. But we also have firms that use that from a referral model where they do want to be hands off. So again, some of the decision making and customization comes into play in this model. Then we have, the calculate and the track management exemptions. Obviously, a referral model where you're referring your client to that calculation engine and the exemption certificate management. And then lastly, the firm is providing those return services. So they're using our tools in-house to deliver those services and build out a revenue stream with the tools. And that's why it's highlighted in gray. So I hope this visual helps kind of, paint the picture per se of the customization and the decision making that can be done in a firm when we get into some of these use cases. So with that, Kim, I'm sure you've got some firms that kind of fit in this model.
I do. So I see this come in a lot where we talk to a contact at a firm, often CAS, but really it could be anybody. And they say, well, we're already doing sales tax returns. And when we say, well, what are you doing? They say, oh, we're just going to the websites and we're filing it directly with the states. They're not using any type of technology to do it. And they're really not doing it because they want to. They're doing it because, once again, they don't want to tell their client no. They're doing it as a must have, not a want to have. And by bringing in that tools platform that we can provide, it enables them to kind of shift that around from being almost reactive or kind of cover defense to saying, hey, we can actually do this. We can do it with technology and automation, and then we can actually monetize it and make money off of it versus kind of losing money or just covering our costs. So it completely gives the power back to that firm to be able to provide that and, again, get an additional revenue stream. I mentioned our partner before that was just referring and said, I don't want anything to do with sales tax. Well, I mentioned him for a reason because today he's a partner that actually uses this model. So as they got more comfortable with referring and seeing what happens when we can calculate and get those rates accurate using AvaTax, he was then able to go, oh, the data is already correct. It's so easy then to just pull it into the Avalara returns platform and be able to file for my client. And Avalara takes on all the liability. So it was such a great story of him initially saying, like, do not enter. I want nothing to do with sales tax, to, oh, wait, you've set me up for success. Now I can identify somebody on my team and we can take some of this on. And not only can we, be the hero by referring out and bringing in, again, trusted technology partner to help automate the calculation, but we can also handle that compliance for the firm and provide one more thing in-house that client doesn't have to go elsewhere for. And Avalara loves seeing our partners go from kind of that one engagement model to the other. We're here to grow with you, to evolve with you. So I love talking about that story because it shows kind of, again, that no entry point, no exit point. We can pivot, we can grow, and we can evolve and change with you.
And I love that story too, because of the way that we are talking about the growth model, right? Like in the evolution of how a firm kind of thinks through what they're able to provide. We know that, growth, revenue, profitability, those are things that accounting firms are really looking at. The profession is really looking at that, as well as service and the growth into new services. So being able to say, we don't want to say no, please help us. But then the evolution of, well, we do need to look at what are those additional services that are needed. One, because maybe the client's demanding, right? Client demand has gone up. Or two, we know that we can provide this extra value through that partnership. And that's what I love about that story, just the growth and the evolution of where firms are kind of seeing opportunity through this model. So with that, I want to go into our refer and implement partnership. So again, going back to the wheel, we're always going back to that foundational wheel. That's why we really like that visual there. But, the refer and implement partnership, why is it a good fit for a firm? And what is that right fit firm? It's the firm that not only provides sales tax advisory services, but also, provides customized sales tax technology implementation services. So often we see this in full service firms with both, indirect tax practices and a technology practice, SALT specialty firms or boutique firms, and firms that specialize in ERP implementations. So again, we have provided that quote. You'll be able to see that quote, but it's really that team, that technology team, potentially an indirect SALT team coming in to really kind of create that revenue stream, that implementation revenue stream within a firm. So what does that model look like when we look at the refer and the implement partnership? It's really focused in that calculate and track piece of it because of the technology of the calculation engine with AvaTax and the implementation of that technology. So you'll see the implementation then falls on the firm. So that's why that's gradient from blue, that implementation's firm. But the technology, the orange is the referral. So we're referring out the client for AvaTax, for potentially exemption certificate management tools, but the firm is doing the implementation. So with that, Kim, I'm sure there's some great stories of success here with firms that are in this model.
Yeah, it's funny when I see when we talk about these stories, in my world I see faces, right? I see the faces of my partners, and one partner that comes to mind in this model is, they're very honest, and she says we're never going to be a compliance shop. That's just not. We don't want to be in that space. We love that we have Avalara to do that part of it for us, but we absolutely want to be the one that refers that client for the calculations, and we want to be the one to set that up. We know our client's business. We are potentially setting them up on their ERP as well. So maybe they're doing a QuickBooks to NetSuite conversion, or they're moving them to a new ERP, and that the calculation and the tax engine is part of that overall project. And they want to be the one to get the service revenue, keep that whole project consistent, and not be bringing in different parties to kind of have to wrangle all these different parties and companies involved. So it's a great model for those that have a technology practice, again, some of the larger firms, but it's also a great model for a smaller shop that just says, hey, we know that we can do our client, or we know that we know our clients better, and we can make them happy, and we are going to be kind of that full stop shop when it comes to that, but we don't want to get involved in the compliance. And again, totally happy to work with you exactly how, as much or as restricted as you'd like to.
And I feel like Kim and I could talk about this for hours. So I know, we're coming up in the last 10 minutes here, and we've got one more partnership model we want to dive into. And then we're going to kind of start to conclude out here with some of those growth opportunities and really kind of help, you understand where those growth opportunities are. So the last use case we have is really, it's just the full thing, right? It's the entire wheel. It's the refer, the implement, and our tools partnership. And, this is a good fit for a firm that has strong, executive and firm-wide buy-in. They're delivering robust sales tax services. They're using a lot of cross-functional collaboration, whether that be between their SALT and indirect tax team and their technology team that Kim just talked about, or, their SALT and indirect tax team and their client accounting or client advisory services team. So oftentimes the best use case here and where this kind of fits in is really those full service firms that have multi cross-functional departments. So what does this look like? This one, I would say, is our most robust type partnership. So there's a lot of gradient here. There's a lot of color. And this is the one where when I look at customization, there's so many options from customization here in terms of, is the firm providing the service? Is Avalara coming in and kind of, being that referral option? Is the firm providing implementation? So that's why you're seeing a lot of the gradient, just because there's customization in almost every step of the way here. So Kim, I'm sure, I know we've got a lot of firms that are using this. And I think this is, obviously, it speaks to why the model and these 3 engagement service levels are so important for some of these firms.
For sure. These are the firms that we just say, like, hey, you're doing everything right. We want to be, everything that we can to you. We'll often see this actually start, ironically, with sort of a very siloed approach to partnering with Avalara. We'll see one department will just say, oh, I'm just going to refer some business. And then another department will start working with our accountant tools team, and then they'll purchase our returns platform. And then another part of the firm might be using our tax research. And then all of a sudden, everybody's kind of going, wait, you're working with Avalara and you're working. And so that's where some of the confusion in partnering with Avalara comes in. And that's my team really actually jumps in and says, hey, let's pull back a little bit. Let's look at this as a holistic partnership. And when we really are truly successful is when the firm identifies somebody that says, hey, I'm going to actually volunteer to be the one that gets our arms around everything that we're doing together. And let's get executive management from both sides in. Let's create a business plan together. Let's figure out how we want to go to market. Let's communicate, make sure that those that are certified to implement know exactly what referrals are coming in, and the SALT team knows what the CAS team knows what the technology team is doing. And if the technology team is selling an ERP implementation, then the certified implementers can perform that implementation work and really just work all together holistically. And as you can imagine, the bigger the firm, the more challenging that can be. But that's what we really, really get excited about. And we have, case after case after case of partners that have, again, started maybe with one piece of that and have then grown and expanded to do, a couple different pieces of the puzzle, and now we're all working in this sort of all-in. I like to call this the all-in model. So we have the a la carte menu, or we have the tasting menu where you can do a little bit of everything. And this is truly where, again, for a firm that knows, hey, sales tax is not going away. It's just going to get more complex and more difficult, and my clients are going to keep asking, and I know I want to say yes. This is where you just jump in all in. And again, we are here to guide you as much as in the way that you want us to show up for you. You lead the way, and we are here to support you every step of the way.
All right. So I know we spent a lot of time on the use cases, but again, we wanted to show that customization. We wanted to show the ability to really, no matter the size of the firm, the type of client, the complexity of the client, we can work with you in whichever way is the best for the firm. And that's the most important piece. So how do we take what we just kind of walked through in the use cases and really kind of dig into the growth opportunities? I know we only have a few minutes left, but I really want to kind of conclude this with, the positive, the value of partnering. What is it that you're bringing to your clients, and what does that look like?
Yes. So in addition to Marianne and myself, you get access to a dedicated team at Avalara that is experienced and equipped to support you as an accounting professional with your clients and your client-specific business needs. We're here to, again, engage with you in whatever pieces of that engagement model you'd like. So you direct us on how you want to work with us, and we'll support you along that way. We also offer both direct, obviously, client support, but direct partner support for you. So if you're engaged with us on the accounting partner level, then we will be supporting you. So if your clients are struggling, you can come to us as your account managers or your partner account managers, and we will be able to escalate and get the partner team in there to support you. That also is available for the implementation side. So if you are implementing, you get a direct line of communication to our implementation support to help you as you're setting things up for your clients. Part of working with Avalara, again, like I just mentioned, is we create that business plan and sort of that go-to-market. So a lot of that includes education and enablement, focusing on your team. We have both the training to get the certification for implementation, but we also have training and education on our different product portfolio. We've made so many acquisitions over the years. We are not just sales and use tax anymore. We've expanded to all different areas, including property, 1099s, just myriad of solutions, and we will be there to provide that to not only your direct team, but maybe additional folks within your firm. We also have marketing support. So if you're saying, gosh, we love to take this message out to our clients and our prospects, Avalara, will you team with me and kind of be that rubber stamp to say that I'm one of your premier partners, that you can show up with me and help show that I'm somebody that can provide these types of a solution to my clients. We'll absolutely work with you in that capacity as well. And then last but not least, there are definitely financial incentives for those that are interested or eligible to receive them for referring Avatax and referring solutions over to Avalara. So Marianne, feel free to jump in and address any of the added points that you'd like to make on this one.
No, I mean, I think this is so well said. There's so much opportunity, and I hope we were able to really kind of bring the value out of how we look and how we look at partnering here at Avalara with the accounting profession and accounting firms, and just the emphasis and the importance that we put on these type of relationships with these firms and with your clients. So I hope, I know we're looking to conclude this out, and we're going to pass it back to the Earmark team. But we just thank you for the time today, and we hope that we were able to bring some value and help understand partnering with Avalara and what that looks like.
Thanks again so much for having us.
Great. So yeah, thank you. That was great, Marianne and Kim. So again, I just want to remind everyone that we will email you, if you're live attending this, that we will email you in the next 5 to 7 days to let you know when this course is available for this presentation. And it's going to be on the Earmark app. Again, here's the directions if you need to download it and the QR code. So be sure to look out for that email in the next 5 to 7 days. And also in the show notes for that, if you want to learn more, we will have information to contact Kim, Marianne, or Avalara. So thank you everyone for attending, and we will see you at the next one.